Hello, my name's Artemis, and thank you so much for clicking on my totally not clickbait video title. Of course, we got to draw you in somehow, but it is the point I'm trying to make today. Fursuits. The things that I'm wearing right now, this entire goddamn thing, are they getting more expensive? Stupid question, yes they are, but why? Is that a bad thing? Is that something that we can be avoided? And are they too expensive? Are they disproportionately expensive? It's not an easy fucking question to answer, to be honest, because there's not just one answer. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into making a fursuit, and there's a lot of reasons behind it. And there's a lot of different angles to look at it from. So it sounds like the perfect sort of subject to slap a clickbaity title on and talk about for like 10 or 15 minutes, or however long I did this. Let's find out. So the first point to make, I suppose, is that when one thing gets more expensive, everything else gets more expensive. The economic world that we are living in kind of sucks, doesn't it? Everything's gone up, whether it's food, bills, rent, taxes, all of it. Everything is just generally inflated to fuck, and not in the fun way, and we're all suffering from that, which means the people that make our shit are also suffering from that, which means that just being a person alive to run a business making these fucking walking carpets is harder. They're paying higher prices on food, on rent, on everything, on materials, and it's gonna have a knock-on effect at the end of the day, especially when you've been underpricing yourself. And with the rise in all of this stuff, sees a rise in prices. And honestly, you kind of have to just understand that. I mean, people have to have a space to live in that they're usually working out of. If they have an office, and the rent for that's going to have gone up as well. The food, the fur, the electricity to run the sewing machines. Maybe they're hiring other people. Shipping has gone up as well. There's a hell of a lot that goes into making a fursuit that it's very easy for you to just sort of think like, it's just someone making something. Yeah, it is. Think about what exactly that entails. You're paying for a whole ass person and their skills, because I tell you one thing, it sure as shit ain't just the rise in materials that's causing this, because you're paying for more than just materials. Now we can talk about rising material costs all we want, but it's not the only issue. Not shipping, not material costs, not foam, not fur, not all of that, but the experience that comes with it. Now, I can go and get all of the foam, all of the padding, all of the fur that I need to build a fursuit. I can go and get all of those components, and I can give them to somebody, and they might have absolutely no fucking idea what to do with them. I can give them to myself, and I don't know what to do with them. I ain't gonna be able to make a suit even a tenth as good as what a professional fursuit maker would do, because a lot of this price comes down to the experience and the practice and the talent and the skill that you can't just shortcut your way to. That's what you're paying for when it comes to a fursuit. And you can talk about materials all you want, and yes, those prices have gone up, but also, so has the value of this experience, because people want that. And I mean, you can go out and you can get a fursuit that is, done cheaply, isn't gonna have the same level of experience put behind it. You can basically get something that is just the sum of its material costs. And if you want that, go to Spirit Halloween. They've got options. And I'm not degrading those. There needs to be an entry-level fursuit option for people who want to be a fursuiter but don't have the budget. But there's a lot to be said for you get what you pay for, and if you're not looking to pay an awful lot of money, then you're not going to get the most high quality, tip-top custom item in the world, and you, quite frankly, just have to be okay with that. But even if you have the perfect match of materials and experience, you still have a limited number of makers, and the fandom has no shortage of demand. So many people want a suit, so many people want this thing, and so many people want it to be the best thing in the world, the highest class, the highest made, from the most skilled people, but there's only a certain amount of people doing suits, and for those people there's only a certain amount of slots, and there's only a certain amount of time that they can fulfill those slots. There is always going to be a cap on how many fursuits are getting made annually. So just getting yourself one of those slots makes it a seller's market, doesn't it? And at the end of the day, people are going to be willing to pay more to ensure that they get their suit in a timely manner. I mean, for instance, if you win $1 million today and want to get your perfect fursuit, you're still at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years away from actually getting that thing. Because for some things, you have to wait. For some things, money really isn't the most important part of it. And that's just the way it goes. And yeah, I understand that this is another factor, and you have things like species and extras like wings and tails and all of this shit, which really does change whether or not a maker is even willing to take this on. But it also opens it up to mass production, to other options, to alternatives. People want these suits and they're going to get them one way or another. I mean, you can try some fucking websites if you want, and you're going to be disappointed, but you can't really fault people for still wanting to be a part of this and for seeking a cheaper alternative. That's why things like Spirit Halloween is a good idea for entry-level folks. But again, it drives the price up because you can. When there's so many people are competing for it, no wonder they're making fucking auctions for this shit. Why not? Why the fuck not? A lot of times people say like, oh, a fursuit isn't worth that much. It's not worth that price. It's not worth that money. And that's a very interesting point to come across because that is all down to a matter of perspective. For instance, a $10,000 fursuit, for instance, is not going to be worth the cost if you're only going to wear it twice a year. But if you were to use that in your business as a YouTube maker, as a content creator, as someone who goes out to conventions a lot and really gets the use out of it, suddenly a $10,000 investment doesn't look so wasteful, so overblown, so overcapitalized, does it? So there's a whole fucking aspect of it to consider. Sure, it's a lot of money to a lot of people, and yes, $10,000 to one person is a hell of a lot different to $10,000 to another like myself, who is a broke-ass bitch. But just because the position you're in, it's not worth it, doesn't mean that it's universally not worth it. Is it worth it to someone who already has multiple fursuits? Is it worth it to someone who can make this? Is it worth it to someone who has dreamed of this specific maker their entire life, and now they want to support them by paying what they're able? This all comes down to personal preference, and these perspectives are all very fucking different. Of course, this can also come down to quality. I'm not just saying that is it worth spending the money, but is this specific maker worth spending the money on? You see, a $3,000 full digisuit can be a really great thing, but what does the track record of the maker say? Is that really going to be that cheap when you're constantly sending it back to get fixed? More importantly, do you want to invest 5 figures in a full digi fursuit that you're still going to have to send back and get fixed all the time? I'm not looking to badmouth or bash any specific makers, but we all know the horror stories. Some of them have a reputation of not delivering the most tightly finished product. And if you're going to be charging such a huge amount of money, it's not going to really help your business if people's reviews of it are, the seams keep popping, the glue keeps coming unstuck, and I've had more time spent sending it off to get fixed than I actually have had wearing it. Suddenly, maybe that 5 figures does look a little ill-placed. This does come into it. There is a lot to be said for the point of if you're going to be charging 5 figures for a fursuit, you need to be offering a fursuit that is the quality associated with spending 5 figures on it. So off the back of that, I think it ultimately boils down to the simple quote of the customer is always right in matters of taste, which everybody gets wrong. They always think that means, oh, the customer's always right. No, what it actually means, the realistic version is, if they want to spend money on that, let them. And basically, a fursuit is worth what somebody will pay for it. Now, you can talk about value, you can talk about material versus time versus all of these other factors which boost its value, but essentially, if I create a shitty cardboard fursuit that's got like £5 worth of parts to it, and somebody wants to pay me 200 grand for that, then that's what it's worth, because that's what somebody is willing to pay. The same goes here. If you don't want to spend $10,000 or $50,000 on a fursuit, don't. Simple as that. But you not wanting to spend that does not mean that they can't ask that. Does not mean that other people shouldn't do that. Okay? At the end of the day, we all want to support artists and support makers until we have to actually have that affect us. And I see a lot of people say like, well, they're just pricing it up too much. It's outrageously overpriced. To you, maybe. But why shouldn't they charge what they can? Listen, okay, let me put it this way. You bake bread. That's your job. You bake bread. Every day you bake the same loaf of bread and it gets you like £5. But then you start to notice that other people really want that bread a lot more. And you say like, well, you can have that, but you can have it for £10. And then sure enough, people who want the bread earlier come and get it from you earlier for £10. And you start to think, I can actually charge what I want for this. And then someone who's mega rich comes along and says, I'll give you £100 for that loaf of bread. You'd sell it. You'd sell that for £100. You know that you traditionally wouldn't make that much money, but you'd do it. So why is it wrong when fursuit makers do it? Why is it wrong when they put up a fucking auction? Is there a fucking price here? Did anybody tell them that there is like a problem with success? When you're too successful and you make too much money, that for some reason people are going to turn on you? Because of what? Because of jealousy? Because, I can't get a fursuit cheap anymore because artists are being paid fairly and makers are working and actually earning a living wage. Wah! Wah! I can't be a fuckable dragon now because I'm a broke bitch. Yeah, it sucks. It does. I'm sorry. I wish we could all have enough money to live comfortably, pay artists well, and enjoy being fluffy fucking animals. Guess what? That ain't the fucking world we live in. And someone else shouldn't have to lower their prices because I'm broke, okay? That's just the fucking way it goes. Somebody wants to spend 50 grand on a suit, fucking let them. Somebody wants to make $50,000 for a suit that might only cost them a couple of hundred to make, fucking more power to you. The rest of the world does that shit. It's called capitalism. When the food companies do it, when the energy companies do it, when everybody else does it, when Apple fucking does it, you don't seem to fucking care. But when it's an independent fucking furry creator that you know their first name, suddenly it's a problem. Fuck you. Fuck off. One of the final points that I would like to make is, of course, the issue of being priced out of the fandom. This is something that a lot of people are concerned about, something that a lot of people voice when it comes to fursuit prices. Fursuits are becoming so prohibitively expensive that people are being priced clean out of the fandom. And that's true. Yeah, okay, I can understand that. I mean, the most expensive fursuit ever sold was $50,000 fucking dollars, which, let's be honest, that was just for the status of it, wasn't it? That was just someone who wanted to have the most expensive fursuit, whatever. But there is something to be said about people being priced out of the fandom. It happens. You know, this is a very difficult economic thing. And this is a luxury item. This is not something that we need to eat, to live, to breathe, to dream. This is just something that we have that's fun, that you don't actually really need in your life, which means it's even harder to justify spending money on it. And there's a lot to be said about that. It's true, but then there's always going to be a range of fursuit prices. And as much as, yeah, the going price has gone up, I guarantee I can find a slew of makers who offer reduced rates. I mean, people are always coming in and looking to build their portfolio. People are always underpricing themselves. You can always do it your goddamn self. But it does open up some different complications. The more expensive a fursuit gets, when the demand is still staying the same, the more opportunity there is for someone to come in with mass production at their hands and take over. The more doors that are opened for corporations and dropshippers to come in and start saying, hey, yeah, you can't afford that, but you still want one? Cool, well, we've got you covered with all of this child labor, hand-sewn crap. And I'm not saying that it's the fault of fursuit makers that are charging a lot of money that does that. This is just part and parcel of this kind of marketplace. I mean, ultimately, I don't think it's very founded. I've seen fursuit makers in the time that I've been in the fandom come in, have their prices around here, and then hire them gradually because they can, and then other makers have come in here and done the same. And it seems there's a constant sort of rotation of furry makers coming in, starting off the low prices, and then building it up. And there's always people wanting to be a fursuit maker, always people wanting to start doing this stuff, so it's not really something I feel like we necessarily need to worry all that much about. But it is a point that's brought into it. I mean, and it is a point of concern for some people. I get it. When you're a broke-ass bitch and this means so much to you, it's very difficult to try and merge those two worlds. Doesn't mean that they have to lower their prices just because you're a broke-ass bitch, though, does it? Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. Hopefully it made some sort of sense. And hopefully you agreed with some of the points I am trying to make. I mean, it is a big thing in the fandom. Fursuiting seems to be such a big thing. And I mean, hell, I didn't even broach the whole you don't need a fursuit to be a furry thing, because I've made videos on that before. But it's still something that impacts us because the price of everything is going up. And yes, that is a reason why the price of fursuits is going up. But it also means you're less inclined to pay for a fursuit when you can't really pay for rent or food. At least in this shithole country where everything's going up all the goddamn time, unless you wish. But yeah, it's still a point. You know, it's difficult. You know, are fursuits actually getting too expensive? Or are we just finally paying artists what they're worth? Have we just been very lucky that artists have been undervaluing their work for so long and we've been taking advantage of that? What do you think? Let me know. I want to see your opinions. I want to see where you fall on this line. Because I'm sure everybody has an opinion. It's like arseholes, really, isn't it? So let me know it about the opinion, not the arseholes. I don't need any arseholes. Got enough on my own plate, thanks. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did and you think, oh, I would like to support that guy, then the ways in which you can do that have kind of changed. Now, the Patreon is still a thing and it still exists, and there'll probably be a graphic at some point showing that, but the other things, the merchandise, the Fansly, even the OnlyFans, they're all going to be shutting down. Obviously, some of you might be aware from last week's video where I sort of spoke about it, but we're going to be doing it every week now. I am going to be leaving this country pretty damn soon, and when I leave, this is all going to be slowing down and coming to a stop because I won't be allowed to work. So yeah, some of the ways in which you can support have changed, and if you are feeling so incredibly generous, there is a PayPal me link where we're accepting donations. So if you feel like you want to give me money and get absolutely nothing in return for it apart from a sense of satisfaction that you've helped me, then that's available. If you are feeling generous because I'm getting married, because we're going to start a life together and it's going to be sweet and lovely, then we also have a wedding registry that you can go and check out. Links are going to be below. There's probably graphics on the screen. And yes, the Patreon is going to still be going for at least the end of September because that's when I can get everything scheduled for, and then the Patreon will be stopping. So if you wanted just a last minute look at sort of the exclusive stuff on there, then you can do that before it goes. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy this video, and I guess you'll see me next week now, won't you? Bye!